Welcome back to another exciting episode of Cyber Defense TV. I'm your host, Gary Malevsky, and the publisher of Cyber Defense Magazine. Sitting in my hot seat today is a very special guest. It's Dasha Deckworth, who is the founder and president of Stealth ISS Group, which is at stealth-iss.com. Welcome, and how are you today?
Thank you very much, Gary. I'm doing all right. How about you?
Doing good. And I heard you guys are taking a more holistic approach to cybersecurity. And are you the outsourced people we've needed in our organizations that are getting breached? Like, where do you guys go and what do you do, if you can tell us? Because I know the name has stealth in it.
Well, we have been doing cybersecurity from a holistic approach to the business. You know how there's a penetration test, there's a compliance, and even though it's important, it does not necessarily give the C-suite the understanding of how does all of that impact my business and what kind of solution do I need as a business based on what I do, the industry I am, the way I operate, what is all my risk. So yes, we get asked by sometimes, to perform specific areas of services, but at the same time, even when we just do a simple PCI assessment or pen test, when we discover things, we give the client the overview. Hey, we found this, and this is how it may impact your business, and this is something you need to look at. So really proper holistic, because security is not just security as a silo. It impacts operations, impacts finances, impacts everything. So now, that's what differentiates us.
Some of your clients are international, I would assume, and there's issues. There's geopolitical issues. There's various different regulations that people have to comply with. Are you helping across the spectrum as we talk in a holistic security approach?
Yes, and especially you mentioned a good point, different regulatory requirements. Data privacy is a big one. One of our big clients that we had is in 70 different countries. And one of the solutions we provided is develop a proper data loss prevention strategy. So yeah, think about it. Where are you going to place the servers? Are they going to be in Switzerland? Are they going to be in the US? And how is the data going to flow, especially if you have a service delivery center somewhere in India or US? So all of that, it requires a lot of thinking. And those are the great projects where it's not just cookie cutter. It's really, how does the company operate? Where do they need the information? Who all needs to access it? And how do they actually make it work? Because security in general, if you do it good, can be a lot of red tape. So you got to find the fine line between red tape and operations.
Yeah, speaking of which, when these companies bring you in, are you constrained? Are you given, hey, you only have a month to do this? Or you say, look, we're going to do an initial assessment, see what we find, and if it scales up from there, it has to, because maybe we find more things. Oops, there were shadow IT servers in the cloud and things going on that you didn't expect. I mean, I know there's surprises at all your clients, so I'm curious how the engagements work.
In general, I mean, the clients usually engage us with either they have a specific service request, like managed SOC or incident response forensics, which is our sweet spot, and or a PCI requirement, PCI assessment. And usually from there, that's when we give them a gap and gap analysis, and we identify it based on risk. So we prioritize it for them, say, okay, here's where you get the biggest bang for your buck and you should focus on. And then from there, usually, yes, we find those odd, the surprises that they probably didn't know or maybe forgotten. So yes, in general, there's follow-up. One thing that we have with our clients is the trust. And the fact that we do not give them just, oh, here's a new tool, here's a box that we need to sell you that will solve your problem.
How do you ensure the compliance continues?
People, process, technology. So one thing, and we've been trying to do that for many, many years, and that's part of where I'm very, very passionate about is educating. It's not just delivering a service, but explaining, like you just said, compliance is a time snap. It's right there. Compliance does not mean security. Security is an ongoing thing. Compliance is really just, have you met the check boxes, which hopefully means that you've done everything that you needed for the last year or 3 years to show that you have been doing things. So here it goes back to how are things configured? Is somebody actually looking at things? Do they know what they need to be looking at? Are you collecting the evidence that eventually will help you with the compliance, with the assessment, the audit? So it really comes down to getting that ingrained into daily operations. It's not just, oh my God, we have an audit. Now we have to create documents and we have to scan, we have to pen test and rewrite our policies. No, it's part of business operations, has to be.
So making it part of the business operations, do you help put a template or a business plan in place for the organization to follow that,
Yes.
keeps those check boxes constantly being analyzed? So a month from now, 2 months from now, the security posture should be getting better and the compliance posture should be getting better, not worse. Do you help them through that?
Yes, and that's key. That's where I think we are a little bit different than a lot of other companies, just because we start from the basics of fundamentally secure and putting it into operations and not just here's a tool. So yes, you need to know from a separation of duties to defined processes to having the right tools, the know-how, or a third partner that does that. So it needs to be all in place. And one thing is that we're also trying to educate the C-suite is security and compliance and risk is not a cost center anymore. It's a business enabler. So putting that into perspective for the C-suite, say, okay, if you do all this, you can minimize the risk, which means you're going to have less cost, for example, for cybersecurity insurance. You're going to increase your trust with your clients. So you measure this into metrics, and that's part where we come in to point this out to the C-suite, to build the strategy and measure how they progress in that strategy so they see the wins, not just, yeah, here's a PowerPoint presentation and now you have a strategy. No, it needs to be measured, needs to be implemented.
Do you come in with a secret sauce suitcase? Do you have, white hat, black hat hackers? How do you do what you do?
Yes, very good staff. I wouldn't call it necessarily secret sauce. We have really great staff. And one thing is all of us believe in what we're doing. We have fun with it. We're passionate about it. It's not just a job for us. It's a life. We really enjoy it. We enjoy helping the client to achieve the next level, to help them be protected. And I think that makes a difference as well, because that comes through in how we deliver things, how we engage with the client, and we see a need there. And that's really where I think the service delivery differences and the quality comes in.
Tell us a little bit about where you're located, how you scale, and who you will work for.
Okay, so we have an office. Our headquarters is in Virginia. Arlington, Virginia. We have an office, our government, our federal office down in Huntsville, Alabama. We've got a office in the UK and an office in Slovakia, Bratislava, and a partner office in Dubai. So we work, a lot of us work remotely. Some of us work on site with the clients, depending on what project it is. And a lot of times we do travel around the world. So yeah, we had clients literally everywhere, except those countries, the ones that you do not want to be in. But other than that, I think our best clients are the mid-sized to Fortune 100, 500. That's where we do best at. But we absolutely do support the small businesses. We are a small business ourselves. And we strongly believe that even though the big companies, the Fortune 100, they've got the money, they've got probably the big tools and the big guns out there to protect themselves, it's the little guys, the small businesses and mid-sized businesses that supply them or are their partners that connect to their infrastructure. They are the weakest link. So they need to be protected. And so, yes, we work with small businesses, and especially now on CMMC side or PCI side, it's equally important. It really does not matter on who gets protected. It's the fact that all of us are so interconnected that everybody needs to do their part. And that's where we want to come in, is bring to the business, and even if it's a small business, the right solution for whatever they do, so that they don't go bankrupt on putting some kind of IT solution and security solution in place, but no, something that they can run, manage, that is sustainable for them. They can be secure and focus on their business and do what they're good at. And it does not have to be a complicated solution. Sometimes it's a little bit of tweaking, but it makes a big difference.
That sounds great. Is there anything you think we missed that you want to share with our viewers or listeners?
I'm just excited that there's so many cybersecurity people out there that are contributing. So big shout out to the security world. We need more and more people. Let's all do this together, because there's so much work, and everyone that can contribute and contributes, we're making a big difference.
Awesome. A great interview. I enjoyed the hot seat with you, Dasha. Thank you so much. And I'm going to send our viewers and listeners to www.stealth-iss.com.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, Gary.
Same here. And then come back next time for an exciting episode of Cyber Defense TV.